right, gang, here we are. You can see the man right there. We got a special guest, Dr. Phil. It's not
There
the
you
really,
go.
yeah, he's not the really famous Dr. Phil, but he's got a lot of good information for us here. It's going to help us all out. How's it going, brother?
It's going great. I can't complain for sure.
All right. Like we discussed earlier, we got to get together and go over this information in depth.
Yeah.
We're just going to kind of touch on it tonight and give you guys some highlights. There's a lot involved here. It's a PowerPoint presentation, and I converted it to a PDF. So if you want to get a full copy of it, shoot me an email. Let me put my email address in there, right there, and I'll send it back to you because it's got a lot of great information in it. It really does. But thank you for joining us, brother.
Hey, no problem. No
All
problem.
right. All right, first, let's see who's in the house. All right, let's see who's with us tonight. Come on up here. Wow, it looks like you guys had a pretty good discussion going on. I got to get all the way up to the top. Glenn Anderson was number one. I'm Michelle J. from the great state of Tennessee, my girl right there. I need you to shoot me an email, Michelle. I need your T-shirt size. Got to have it. Got something for you. All right. Come on down. Who we got down? Who else we got down here? Oh, wow. Y'all had a good discussion going on. There's Wanda Landry right there. Thank you for being here, Wanda. And Debbie Jones, my girl right there. Yep. All right. I hope y'all are doing well. Mountain Natural Prep Station. Thank you for being here. That's a new one. Hopefully we'll entertain you or maybe pass on something that'll help you out and you'll come back and see us.
They want to know why he's wearing a mask.
Why is he wearing a mask? He just
That's a great question, Hillbill.
Yeah.
I appreciate that actually. It's to protect my identity.
There you go. All right. If you got questions for him, shoot them in there. He can see the comments too. So if you got questions for the doctor, shoot them out there. Come on down. Who else we got? Whoa. Come on. I know there's somebody else in here. I'm seeing a good number up there. No P's back. Thank you so much for being here. All right. The Raiders in the house. My man, how's the weather in Oklahoma today, man? I think y'all had some weather down, some storms down there. I guess you got through it all right. Sports Mobile 83 is with us. All right, come on down. Who's this guy? All right, that dude right there. Let me tell you about this KT Dixon guy.
He's a piece of work, I can tell you.
She said he's a piece of work. I can guarantee he's a hell of a writer. So go over to Amazon, look him up on and buy his books because he's got some good stuff over there.
Like I said, he's a piece of work.
All right, come on. There we go. There's one right there. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it, buddy. Kayla's with us. Yeah, Kayla's with us tonight. Kathy C. in the Iowa crowd. Hello. All right. Appreciate you guys being here with me.
Tammy Joe says that KT's shady.
KT shady.
He's shady.
He used to be. I can attest to that. Tammy Joe's with us. Who else we got down here? Come on down. Rose is back. Thank you so much. Demo Man's in the house. There he is, right there. All right. David T4 is back with us. J1's with us. Man, we got a good bunch in here tonight. If I miss you, I apologize, but I ain't done yet. I still might get you. There's the rest of the Iowa crowd. Janet Neese and Patriot Ordnance is with us. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. The farmer's with us. Come on down. Come on down. Who else we got down here? There's the Saint, my man right there. Dude can shoot a gnat off a bull's butt at 100 yards. All right. You don't want to get into a gunfight with that guy. Breezy Moose. All right. Moose is back with us. Thank you so much. Been a while. I know you've been here before. Come on down. Who else? There's the Genesis Design. Shalom, brother. Shalom. Thank you for being with us tonight. The Beast is in the house. All right. Hill Bill. That man right there lives a life. He don't just talk it, y'all. He actually lives it. Scruffy Scrubs is with us tonight. Thank you. I know it's hard for you to make these live streams. You're always working. So I appreciate the effort. Carrie from Washington is here. The West Coast has checked in, and Metal Textiles with us. All right, man, we got a good bunch in here tonight. Phil, you must be popular. I think they come to see you.
Yeah, I see some names I'm familiar with in the chat.
All right.
Good.
I want to touch on a couple of topics before we get over to the doc. The first one, for the first time in a long time, is good news out of Washington, D.C. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of gun manufacturers today in a unanimous 9-0 vote. They protected the gun manufacturers from lawsuits. Diane, thank you so much. And they actually came right out and said between the manufacturer and the point where somebody actually uses a firearm to hurt somebody, there's too many points in between. Too many people in between have their hand on that. And they just said, no, the manufacturer's not responsible for what happens with these tools, which was a good ruling. And they actually used the example that I've used before right here on this channel. You know, if they said, yeah, they're responsible, then the next step is, okay, Ford's responsible when a DUI driver hits somebody with a Mustang. You know, they said, no, it just don't work. If a third party uses one of their products to harm somebody, it's not the manufacturer's fault. And that don't surprise me that it came down the way it did, but the 9-0, that surprised the heck out of me. I mean, it was good to see. I'm glad that something finally fell the way it should up there in the Supreme Court. But I'm going to tell you who's pissed off about it. The people at Remington. They're gun makers, right? But they settled with the families of the Sandy Hook shooting up there years ago. They just settled with them to keep the case from going through court because that nut job that did that deal up there was using a Remington firearm. So they just basically paid them off to go away. And it looks like that was a mistake. They should have stood by their guns, right? Yeah, really. Yeah, they should have just stood by their guns and carried it all the way through to the Supreme Court. They would have won. It's that simple. But there's a couple more things I want to touch on here. Here's another one. Well, you know, if you're not aware, there's a massive cloud of dust coming from Africa over here to Florida and southeastern United States. It hit here in Florida today. They said it got here today. And I could tell a difference because it's been raining every day for the last week. But today it didn't rain a drop.
One of the places showed pictures of people with dust on their cars, just like with how the pollen
like
was.
pollen?
Only it was brown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere in Florida.
It's supposed to be thick, supposed to be really bad, guys. Yeah. This is for you. I love y'all. Thank you for being here.
Cheers.
Yeah. All right. One more thing I want to touch on here is this one. Scientists put out a warning about the solar storms, which is really kind of unusual because the sun was at its maximum in October of 24. It's supposed to be kind of on a downhill decline as far as solar storms and stuff like that's going on. But last week, and probably the last couple of weeks, there's been several solar storms. CMEs come off the sun. They've impacted Earth. They've actually caused some telephone problems here in the United States with cell phone systems. But Starlink's losing satellites. They're losing contact with a lot of their satellites. They're falling victim to it. And the problem is they can't regain contact with those satellites. So they're obviously just going to decay in their orbit and fall. But thank goodness they're really small. Starlink satellites aren't very big at all. They're just very, very small ones.
Like?
Maybe.
They're bigger than that, right?
Maybe like this.
Oh,
maybe
wow.
3 feet.
I have no idea.
4 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're losing them left and right. And it's because of the solar storm. So maybe you'll get a good view of them coming back into Earth's atmosphere. But that's all I got. That's all I wanted to say. I'm going to let Dr. Phil take it from here. So go with it, brother. Right here's what we come to see.
Hey, all right. Thanks, KT. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I have a 3-part medical series which I'm developing for a lot of the MAG groups and things here in Florida. And so tonight we're going to brush a little bit over it. And this is more of a discussion, though. We want to field your questions and whatnot. So tonight's topic is preventative medicine. So that's really what we're focusing on today. We'll also go over active medicine, which is more like treating things. What medicines do I use for what type of illness? Those types of things that are really good for preppers. And then we'll do transitional medicine, and that's not what you think it is, probably. That's when you're going from an active situation to get someone to the hospital. What is the, like an EMT type thing? What do I need to do to transport someone and keep them stable and comfortable while we get them to maybe someone who has more tools and whatnot? So I'll give a little bit of background on myself. Pharmacist, doctor of pharmacy, and almost for 11 years now, which is pretty crazy to think about. So I have my doctorate in pharmacy, bachelor's in biology and chemistry. I'm also licensed in multiple states. Started out in the emergency room. That's kind of where I got my start in pharmacy. And then had a specialty on infectious disease as well. And then, I've done medical mission trips around the world. So I've kind of seen how third world countries definitely, where they need help and where they, kind of how they practice medicine. So I've gotten that experience, and now I currently work in insurance. So I currently work for Medicaid, but I have worked for Medicare as well. So yeah, that's just a little bit about my background and whatnot. So kind of wanted to just touch on this though too. So a lot of this might be a little overwhelming for you. I'm going to give you as much high level as I can, and it's not to overwhelm you at all. It's really just to show you what is required and what's there. So don't overwhelm yourself. I always say don't overwhelm yourself. Get educated. So learn as much as you can. Watch as many videos as you can. Read as many books as you can. This is an area where I feel a lot of people maybe don't have the expertise. But it's critical, especially in grid down situations, even hurricanes and whatnot. If something happens, it's good to have those skills. So, and just kind of keep in mind, no matter how many mistakes you make or how slow you progress, you're still way ahead of everyone else who isn't trying. So I think that's a real important thing to do and to keep in mind. So a little bit about preventative care. Like I said, we're kind of skipping through a lot of this stuff, but preventative care or preventive care is basically like prepping. It's, you're preparing for the unknown. It's the same thing with your health. So eating healthy, being aware of your body is something wrong, and then developing relationships with healthcare providers that you trust. I think that is incredibly important, because a lot of people just say, well, I don't trust doctors. I don't do this. I don't do, anything of that nature. But I think it's really, really important. Not only just for getting what you need, but also making sure you're staying on top of your health. So the big pet peeve of mine, that's for sure. I have a bunch of different stats here. You guys can read over those real quick. But like I said, we're going to kind of fly through this because I want to get to more of the discussion piece. But preventative care, when it comes down to it, catching things early, it saves lives for sure. So especially when it comes to cancer. This was a huge study that came out, and you can see that they were catching things from 1975 to 2020. It took 4 years to compile that data, and they've basically discovered that through early detection, almost 6 million deaths were averted. And that's, the screenings in itself, right? 80% of those deaths were prevented. So I think that's really important. So getting regular checkups once a year, immunizations, again, that's debatable. We're not going to get into that. So I have my, I'm sure you guys probably align with how I feel about a lot of that stuff. If you know me, I've been pretty vocal about those things. But again, lifestyle counseling, health screenings, and then again, preventive medications, preventing those high risk events from happening. So let's get to some of the other things here that I wanted to talk about.
There we go. Get to the stuff that people right now can prepare just in case the lights go out tomorrow.
Exactly. So hygiene is definitely one of the easiest things for preventive care.
Yep.
I think most people don't wash their hands correctly. I'm very observant when I see that. I see people put the soap on first, and it's like, no, you should wet your hands first, because you need to create a sudsy layer. That's really, it's not the soap itself. It's not like it's not like hand sanitizer, right, where the alcohol is killing the bacteria and whatnot. When you're talking about washing your hands, you're removing dust particles, you're removing dirt, you're removing any kind of other things that are living on your hands to create like a more of a clean surface. So you really need to wash your hands vigorously. You need to get between all the crevices. You need to, do this in your palms so you get the nails and everything. That's really, really important when you're washing your hands. And you should use hot water, because the hot water you have, the more soap you have, you're going to create the suds. The suds is really what traps that bacteria in there. And then you wash it away when you rinse your hands. So that's a big thing. Food hygiene. I'm sure you guys have all seen the what do they want to call it? The food grades of some restaurants and whatnot, and the things that they expose there. I think that's such a big thing. If you're processing game, or you're you're handling food or raw chicken or whatnot, I think that's a big thing too, because in a grid down situation, you may not have, the water that you need to rinse things off. You may not have that stuff we should definitely have, but I think that's really, really important to be aware. Okay, I'm processing a chicken. This may contain salmonella, so I want to keep it to one area. I don't want to cross-contaminate things. I don't want to do that. When you're prepping, field dressing, I think that's a huge thing too. A lot of people may say, oh, well, I got to go hunt game now, so I'm going to go out into the woods and I'm going to shoot a squirrel, or I'm going to, do something or another. Well, when you kill an animal, you got to do a field dressing. So I think that's a really important skill to learn. Otherwise,
absolutely,
the colon, not to get too graphic here, but the colon can really put some nasty things out there and taint the meat. So
I got a question for you. I hope you know the answer to.
All right.
When you take like chicken breast out of a package,
yep,
and it's really kind of slimy, is that bacteria? I think it's bacteria, right?
Not always, because some of that can be certain juices or certain like salt content and whatnot that they may put in there to keep that chicken fresh. So that's not always the case. But I always say, when it comes down to questionable meat or whatever, smell test is always a big one. If it smells bad, just throw it away. It's not worth it.
Yeah, but I always wash that chicken until that film is gone.
Yeah, and so washing chicken can actually be dangerous as well. To be honest, yeah. So washing chicken, when that water is going on there and all that's coming off, you are right. There probably is some kind of salmonella or whatnot on there, but that can then stick in the sink. So unless you're thoroughly cleaning that sink afterwards, that salmonella could still grow in there. So that's why they say don't wash chicken per se. And it's kind of one of those things too. Like let's imagine this is I'm trying to grab something here. We'll use this mouse. Let's say this is a chicken breast, right? And that water is coming down on it. As it splashes, there is residual water droplets that do come off. And remember, bacteria is incredibly small. Can't see it with the naked eye. You have to use a microscope.
Right.
So that can spread disease. So again, if you're going to wash your chicken, just make sure you're doing a thorough job of cleaning your sink and your countertops afterwards.
Okay, I didn't mean to get you off topic. I was just
you're good.
I was wondering for myself.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. It's important questions to ask. So a proper way to sneeze. I think this is hilarious because I always see people do things like this. But this is, I could blow aerosol through here, and you've probably seen that with the mask, and that was kind of the funny thing of why I wore a mask too. Yeah. Is because those particles go right through it. So you're not really doing it. The best way to do it is to do a solid, and you want to sneeze right directly in there, not here and sneeze here. You want to get right directly into your elbow and contain that sneeze to that area. You're not touching things with your armpit. You're not doing any of that. So that's another thing. Showering. when we're in a grid down situation, I think that's really, really important to shower or bathe in some kind of way, whether that is, getting wipes, whatever. You want to stock up on those items too. Having a solar shower, I think, is a game changer.
Yeah, I did a review on one of those, and it's so inexpensive and it works so great. People they just really need to get, a couple of them at least. You got to have one, and then you got to have a backup. So,
yeah. Glenn just said something that was really good about cutting chicken.
I missed it.
He said he uses Stearin after cutting and washing chicken.
There we go.
That's great.
There you go. All right.
So using deodorant and antiperspirant, I think a lot of people may say, oh, well, I don't have enough stock for that, or I run out or something during a grid down situation. I think that is incredibly important to prep. Reason being is because skin infections, especially, we live in Florida. It's hot, it's humid, you're going to sweat. And that's an environment, especially in skin folds and all these other, places where fungi love to live. I think that is a big thing. So keeping clean, keeping, your armpits clean, your those are areas where they can definitely get infected. So
cool.
All right. Moving on. I'm going to go through this one real quick. Nail clipper set. That is something that is in my bug out bag. That's in my go bag for sure. Because you never know when you're going to have to go. And if you do, and you got long nails because you don't keep them regularly trimmed or something like that, that's, again, place for infection. That can, you can break a nail, not in the sense of, oh, I broke a nail, but you could chip one off, and then that can be a place where bacteria gets in. So keeping that nice and neat, I think that's really important. I don't want to spend too much time on this slide because this is a really in-depth slide, but we're going to keep it moving. This was one I definitely wanted to talk about, though. In movies, I've seen this so much where they say, oh, I'm burning, or not burning, but, oh, I got a burn, or, oh, I got an infection or something. Oh, throw some alcohol on it, get the vodka, whatever. That is one of the worst things you can do. So one of the worst things you can do is put alcohol onto an open wound. Yes, it may hurt, but that's not more so. It actually damages the tissue around it that is healthy. And so that delays that wound from healing properly. So better things to use, like antiseptics, is povidone iodine. That is like my go-to thing. Couple things with povidone iodine. There is no bacteria, virus, fungi that can basically, it's indestructible. Iodine is the go-to thing for killing anything. It is a huge oxidizer. It basically will kill nucleic acid. That's what they use when they go into surgery and whatnot. They're scrubbing themselves all the way up and down. So if you're going to do something dirty or going to do whatever, this is a good preventive medicine to do and to have on hand. They make it in a lot of different things. Canker sores, any mucosal membranes, respiratory infections. They have little nasal swabs you can put up in there. You don't want to use it super long-term, like every single day, but it's a great, great thing to have on hand. It's my number one go-to thing for hygiene. So
here's a good question. What is Stearimin?
Stearimin. What is Stearimin? Glenn, do you want to say it's an antiseptic. I'm trying to think exactly what's in that one. But they make it I know they make Stearimin in tablets too, but it's basically like a hand sanitizer that I know. Let's see. If you go to like any fast food restaurant, I know they usually have Stearimin, and it's a sanitizer that they use for like cooking services and stuff. So they'll do things like they have tablets that they can put in there. So when they're washing dishes, they'll wash it with soap, they'll rinse it, and then they usually sanitize it. I know Stearimin is what they use for that.
All right. Sam wants to give you a shout out right there.
Oh, well, hey, Sam. How are you doing? I think another thing I'm just going to quickly, again, point on here, menstruation, making sure that I think that if you're not a female, it's still something good to have. That's a great barter item. Tampons, pads, those types of things. That is really, really important because, someone says, well, I don't have any tampons anymore.
Oh, shoot.
Well, you could get toxic shock syndrome. that's that's a death sentence basically in a grid down situation. So having those things on hand, I think, is super important. Again, great barter items.
All right, there's one point here that I really want to touch on.
Sure.
Foot care. Dude, I'm gonna tell you what, you got to keep them feet healthy.
Yep.
Especially if you don't have any medical facilities around or any, access to good medicine. If your feet are dead, you're dead.
Yep. Blisters, jungle rock, fungicitis, all kinds of stuff. That's another environment. If you're not taking your shoes off and washing those, that's an environment that they're just gonna fungus and bacteria. They just love that humidity and that stink. Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna keep on moving. So, again, masks, N95. Why are these important? Not for what you think it is. N95 masks are good in situations where you are in contact. Maybe you have to, unfortunately, pick a dead body up or move a dead body or something like that. You don't want to be breathing anything in. So, again, I have a thing down in the right-hand corner here that says, don't shave your beard. You have to shave your beard. So that's another thing. This right here is an N95 mask, an actual authentic one. This is not protecting me right now at all. It's not doing what it needs to do because I have a beard. It's not making it seal around where it needs to be. And it's also open up here. So if you don't have these clips on there to get that through, that's another thing. So that's why I put that on there.
Here's a good question right here.
Yep.
Is alcohol like hydrogen peroxide?
No, not at all. Hydrogen peroxide that's another thing. Definitely, you probably shouldn't put on an open wound. However, for like mucosal membranes, canker sores, it does do a pretty good job without like minimal damage to the inside of your mouth. You can use hydrogen peroxide for that. I probably would get some slack for that, but I've always used that. But again, mucosal membranes inside of the mouth and whatnot, I think that's a good disinfectant item. Hydrogen peroxide is more related to iodine than people think, especially the provenone iodine. Again, two different chemicals, works two different ways, but it has that similar property of oxidizing things, and that's how it destroys stuff. So,
all right.
Eyeglasses. This is huge. Not just because I wear eyeglasses, but my mom has stressed this into me. She's like, you only get one pair of eyes. And it's true. I can function with a cut off limb. I can function with a cut off leg. I could function, if my tongue was cut out, I could still do sign language or whatever. But your eyes, you only get one pair. There's not like, at least now with the technology, they have certain things where they could, restore certain eyesight and whatnot. But in grid down situation, no, you only have one pair. So, if you're used to cutting wood without eyeglasses, safety glasses, if you're used to shooting without ballistic, I think that's a huge mistake anyway. But getting those eyes, and then as well as like sunglasses. So the neighborhood I live in has no trees right now. It's a brand new neighborhood, and going outside is like going out into snow. And I used to live in the north, so I definitely know what sun blindness is for sure. So having that, sure. And so again, making sure some of this stuff is in your bug out bag. And then do you also have the tools to repair with the little screws or something like that if something gets broken? Those are things to think about. Chaps and chainsaws. That's a huge thing as well. So a lot of people I've seen do chainsaw without chaps. And I don't know if you've ever seen, I have in the emergency room, unfortunately, seen chainsaw injuries. Again, especially living up in the north, a lot of people cut down trees, use wood for the winter. It's disgusting. That chain doesn't stop. They have things that are supposed to detect, flesh or whatever, different saws, or if it gets binded up. But by then, it's probably gone. Your limbs are gone. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Gloves.
All right, we're getting close to our time here.
Yep.
Give me some quick tips.
Sure.
Or maybe some items that most people wouldn't put in like a bug out bag or.
Sure. I can do all that. Just a giant list for you. Dental cleaning tools, super, super important, I think. Just that daily kind of stuff. Pimple and cyst tools. If you're getting that, you want to get that thing clean. Clean rags and washcloths, stockpile them. They're inexpensive. make sure you have it. Not necessarily, you don't need a thermometer necessarily or a pulse ox in your bag, but it's a good thing to have on hand. Any kind of cutting tools, soaps, shampoos, you name it. Sterile gloves. I do want to touch on this one. The gloves that you buy, the nitrile gloves, those are not sterile. So if you're having to do suturing or you're actually having to pack a wound for someone, like if they get shot or whatever, you want sterile gloves, which are in a package in itself.
So there we go. I didn't know that.
That's huge. That is huge because a lot of people, if you're packing that wound down and you're pushing that gauze into that empty, that hole where that bullet was, you're putting more and more bacteria into it. Even if you're wearing gloves or whatever, because where have those gloves been? Are they in your bag? They've been touching other things that were dirty. Sterile gloves. They're in a package. Make sure you get some of those.
All right. I didn't know that. Thank you.
I would say the other thing too I want to touch on is vitamins. Vitamins are great. Diet is better. If the gut works, use it. That's what we always say. But vitamins, when you're buying your vitamins, not all vitamins are created the same. I actually have some right here. And you can see that this one has what's called the USP on it. And that's a third-party entity that basically what's on the label is what's in the pill. Because they can say, oh, it's got this, like Centrum. Don't ever get Centrum. That's one of the worst, and I will swear on that. That's one of the worst things ever created. It's dirty vitamins, in my opinion. Get something that says USP certified on it. I think that is a huge thing. And the other thing I'm going to say, Ken, real quick, is on storage. When you're storing your medications, this is probably something people don't know either. Where do most people store their medications?
What, medicine cabinet, maybe?
Where's that medicine cabinet?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're asking the wrong guy. We got ours stored right. So.
Exactly. So the medicine cabinet is usually found in the bathroom. That's one of the worst places you can store medications because every time you take a shower and that steams up, especially if it's a smaller bathroom, you think that little plastic pill thing is preventing any kind of humidity or whatever? Absolutely not. So store your medications somewhere where it's dry, it's cool, humid free. Pets can't get to it. Kids can't get to it.
Cool.
So,
all right, brother. I appreciate your time, man. You helped out a lot of folks here tonight.
We're trying to slang out a big presentation in under 30 minutes. So, but I will be doing another big presentation, the full presentation, and again, I'll be back to kind of go over active medications and other things. But this is just a kind of quick rapid fire thing that we wanted to put together and get some tips out there for you. But I'll do a full presentation on this. It'll probably take about an hour. So
all right, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate all these new people dropping in here.
Hey, anything for you? I
couldn't give you a shout out. Dr. Phil was talking over here. I tried to pop your name up there so everybody could see you. Like I said again, if I missed you, I apologize, but I appreciate every one of you being here. Hey man, what you put on here, that helped a lot of people. It helped me. I learned something tonight. So I appreciate you bringing it to us. And I can't wait till you get that presentation together with the group. And, I can be a part of it. Absolutely. Like I said before, I have the presentation that he has here tonight. I have all of it. If you guys want a copy of it, shoot me an email. Let me pop that back in there. And I will send you a copy of it. He put it out there for us to actually use. And it's got a lot of great stuff in it, guys. Like I said, I learned something right here tonight I didn't know, especially about the gloves. I didn't know that, but it makes sense. So thanks for being with us, brother.
Absolutely. Anytime, OP.
Yeah, we got to get together again. I enjoyed our class with the solar generators. I enjoyed our class with the bread. Great bunch of folks, between my group and your group, and everybody got together and have fun, and hopefully we can do it again real soon. So
absolutely. You guys, you got an awesome group here with OP Nation. So
yeah, buddy. Hey, I got the best group on the internet right here. Bar none. I don't care. I put this bunch up against anybody. But I'm gonna let you bow out of here, and then I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody. But thank you, brother. I appreciate you being with us. All right, y'all. Y'all saw it. This man knows what he's talking about. He can help us out a lot. Hopefully you'll shoot me that email. I can send you this presentation. I tried to attach it down below in the description box, and I couldn't get it to go. For some reason, it would not let me attach it. I don't know why, but it's not that hard. Like I said, just shoot me that email. You will enjoy it. It's got a lot of information in it. There's a couple of other links down there in the description box, especially if you're in Tennessee. I want you to look at this. All right. There's something going on down there, or I should say up there, with the Tennessee Valley Authority that is absolutely destroying the rights of people in Cheatham County. A lot of folks up there don't know about it. Click on those links down there. John Rich, I know you know who he is, from Big and Rich. He's got in on this. The federal government is just basically destroying people's lives because they want to build a power plant in Cheatham County. They want to take people's property, private property, of course, and they're just coming in on these people's property and doing surveys without any permission. They're coming in armed like they're a SWAT team, and they're just trampling on these people's private property and their rights. Watch those videos. If you're in Tennessee, contact your representatives, not just your senator and your congressman that's in Washington. Contact your state representatives. This is something that needs to be stopped. Okay? TVA don't answer to Congress. They're the only utility in the United States that has no congressional regulation, no congressional oversight. This has got to be stopped, guys. Absolutely. I love the state of Tennessee. That's where I'm from. And Cheatham County was adjacent to Davidson County, which is where I grew up. Those two counties border each other. I have relatives in Cheatham County. So, like I said, if you're in Tennessee, contact your representatives, state and federal, and tell them to put a stop to that power plant they're wanting to build in Cheatham County. When I saw it today, I guess you can tell I'm kind of pissed off about it. You know, this poor old woman at 95 years old, they go in on her property like they own it. And they tell her, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And she has no recourse. We've got to stop this, guys. I still got a few contacts in Tennessee. When I saw these videos today, I emailed a couple of them. It's got to be stopped. If you're in Tennessee, do it. Do it now. All right. That was my soapbox for the night, guys. Love every one of you. Thank you for being here. All right. Stay strong. Keep prepping and pray for the United States because we need it now more than ever before. Love you all. Thank you for being here. The Orlando Prepper is out.